We are backseat GMs.
Wow.
That's right. Oh gosh, that's our That's our intro. Yes. Just stop playing. No, that's really not our intro. It's my phone that will not stop playing stuff. All right, thanks a lot for ruining that. All right.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. I'm Adam. That's Mike. Welcome to Backseat GMs. We are going to start this off with the talk around the NFL as of yesterday, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when I found out about it. Ron Rivera is fired from the Carolina Panthers. Mike, I know you got a strong opinion on this.
Oh, I'm pissed. I'm pissed.
And so are the players.
I'm not a Panthers fan. I don't like the Panthers. I don't like the Panthers fans. I hate when they come to Tennessee. I hate when we play them there. I hate watching them on TV. I hate when it's the only game I can get. I don't like the Panthers. I still think this is an absolutely bonkers move. The guy is a 2-time Coach of the Year. Not that ever means anything. Coaches of the Year get fired all the time. Coaches get fired all the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, he went to a Super Bowl, was 15-1, has had a lot of good seasons. He's had a lot of injury bugs. I mean, this year he's basically been playing with the backup quarterback the entire season. I think Cam was in the first 2 games.
Yeah.
But for all intents and purposes, he had Kyle Allen, and that's it. They don't really have a lot of playmakers on offense. They have a Greg Olsen with no tread left on the tires. They have an offensive line that's kind of patchwork. They have receivers that, for the most part, you can't name outside of Curtis Samuel, which he's often injured. They don't have anybody that you have to game plan for outside of McCaffrey, and McCaffrey still gets yards and all this, and they were still a 500 team a couple weeks ago. You know, they were still mentioning the conversation for a wild card berth not that long ago. And how many games left in the season? 5?
6. No,
5,
4.
6 games.
No, there's 4.
Yeah, we're in the last month of the season, give or take. And you're letting this guy go who's been with you for 9 years, had a lot of success, and he's not going to be on the street for very long at all. But as an organization, I look at Carolina, and I don't understand what they're trying to do with this. There are so many ways that you can play this wrong, and almost no good options that could possibly come out. And I'll run through real quick. One is that you're not going to get another head coach by the end of the season. There's nobody out there available except maybe Mike McCarthy. So are you trying to be first to get in line to Mike McCarthy? I highly doubt it. Number 2, you basically sold out the rest of the season. You're going to start playing backups and seeing who you have left. You're not going to have a high enough draft pick to get a quarterback next year. They're talking about getting rid of Cam Newton, which is insane. I mean, the guy's going to come back from injury and at least be able to throw the ball. Quarterbacks last a while, even the mobile guys. It seems directionless. It's not going to put them in any better position than to at least let him finish the season or to keep him through next season and try to have his starting quarterback back. And, I mean, I got to have something to go on here because right now it just seems like somebody took a twister wheel and spun it and picked fire around Rivera.
Yeah. I don't understand it. I'm like you. I'm not a Carolina. I'm not a fan. I don't follow them whatsoever. Now, granted, I know he had that 15-1 season, but he's only been to the playoffs 3 times, and that was in the early years of his career. I mean, he hasn't even made a run at the playoffs in 4-5 years now.
They've been in the conversation. I mean, they're still a decent team year in and year out.
But I mean, like for instance, like this year, dude, there's no team in the NFC that's going to get into the wild card position without at least a double-digit win, so don't get me wrong. I don't agree with the firing, the timing of it, but according to the owner, this is just a small step of what he's got going on. Like he's adding a vice president of football operations. He's also adding an assistant GM. He's he's already let go some people in the front office. I don't know who. I could be talking out my ass when I say that, but it seems like that's something that I read and it would make sense. But yeah, I saw an interview by the guy, and he's just like, this is what I gathered from the whole conversation, or the interview, I should say, was, hey, I made the decision while I was taking a shit, and then I made the phone call while I was wiping. Because the dude, I mean, the way he described it, it was just like, we need to do it right now. There's no time, no reason to waste any time. Ron Rivera knows how I am, and I'm a straight shooting guy. And we want to go ahead and start interviewing for people like right now. Like, so in my opinion, then whoever they're trying to get is already working somewhere else. They're trying to get somebody who's already employed.
But who? I mean, you're going to get somebody who's employed they're going to be a first-time head coach. I mean, there's very few candidates out there. I think this, from my perspective, it's a down year for head coaches or head coaching candidates that have not been a head coach yet. I mean, you have maybe Josh McDaniels who will or won't take a job. So I don't
he's
really
been a head coach, and he was shit.
Yeah, and that was a really bad run, and he could potentially have gotten a lot better. But in the same token, guys like Hugh Jackson had the same sort of turn down their career where they were a head coach for a year or two, really bad, lost the job, came back and worked their way back up as a coordinator, and then got a job, and they were even worse the second time. So I don't think McDaniels is necessarily going to be a candidate that you could bank on. So he's out. McCarthy, yeah, maybe he's been a year out of football, and he's had his struggles as well. And then you got a lot of guys you never heard from before. Now, this year you had some coaches that came along and did well, but I mean, Zach Taylor, Cincinnati, they're way worse off than they were last year. I mean, if anything, Zach Taylor shows how good a coach Marvin Lewis was, even though he never won a playoff game. So I don't identify anything that could improve their situation. I think what they have to blame for where they are right now and their dire straits with the entire offense being dependent on Cam and a running back exclusively, which in most situations is not good because those are two of the most oft injured positions. But I mean, it's GM malpractice. You had Marty Herney before who came in there and was signing running backs to $9 and $10 million contracts. Not one, but two. Remember D'Angelo Williams and the guy Jonathan Stewart. They were on the same team at the same time. Both were never good after they signed the second deal, and it killed the team and their salary cap. He ran off a lot of the good players. Josh Norman, right after the Super Bowl year, ran him out of town. And they haven't been the same since. So, or I'm sorry, that was Herney. And then Gettleman came along and ran everybody off. Gettleman left and Herney came back. He's there a second time now. Why the fuck? I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, they're not getting enough talent in. They're not drafting enough strong players. They've got a couple guys that are decent on defense. But, I mean, they have so many soft spots on offense right now that, they are depending on Cam to do a lot. And anybody else that you bring in there, unless they have Cam's skill set, is not going to be able to run the offense well. That's why they're giving it to McCaffrey like 35 times a game. And which really all that's doing is it's like a payday loan, because eventually it's going to catch up with you and you're not going to have the car that you're getting the payday loan on. Not that I know anybody or have experience in that, but just saying, they got to come up with a better plan. I think it starts from the top, and by the top, I don't mean the head coach. The head coach can only really do what he can with the players on the field. I think their problem right now is more the players on the field than the people coaching them.
Now, who did they name the interim coach?
It's probably Perry Fuel. He's been an interim coach like 5 different times.
Yeah, man. You know who's his special assistant?
No.
Norv Turner.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
Norv's a great coach. No, I mean, and they've, and they've raved about Norv Turner in Carolina with what he's done with the offense the last couple seasons. So now, when you lose the head coach, unless you're going to promote Norv Turner, which I think we've seen time and time again is not a good idea to have him as a head coach, right? I mean, so you're not going to do that. Now these guys are going to go elsewhere. You're not going to retain 80% of the coaching staff, as it is historically the case. So I don't know, but I think they're lost. Everybody else is gained.
I'm pretty sure I was watching something just yesterday. I want to say it was a sports show on a network, and they were saying that this year might be a record number or a record-setting year as far as coaching turnovers, because they went through a whole list. And there's a lot of coaches that not only have already got fired, that are like one game away from getting fired.
Right.
So, I think
they average about 7 or 8 a year now, which is high when you think there's only 32 teams. You're talking about 25% of all the coaches that are in the league are going to get fired year in and year out, which, I mean, I'm a big practitioner of, or a preacher of, I think they should have patience with coaches. They should get more than 3 years at a minimum. And if you get a guy and, you're thinking about firing him after the first or second season, which you're seeing a lot of that lately too. You're seeing a lot of coaches only get 1 year. And that's just a waste of everybody's time. And that's really an indictment on the organization. They ought to get at least 3. And at that rate, you shouldn't have this many guys turn over every season. But, it is what it is. It's an entertainment business.
That's exactly what it is. So, speaking of entertainment, were you entertained by the Titans game against the Colts? Oh, dude, that was great. That was so great.
Fantastic.
It was. I was so happy with that. Derrick Henry had another killer year. Third game in a row with over 100 rushing yards. First time of the season.
I think he's top 3 in the league right now.
Yeah, he is, dude. He's tearing it up. And I'm pretty sure I called that after the break that he was going to have, Hey, I take him where I can get him, man. I take anything I can get. But yeah, dude, they're tearing it up. Their defense actually, I was happy with the defense. I was really happy with it until Jackson got hurt.
Yeah. I mean, their defense has been solid all year. The offense has been lacking a solid identity, which they have now. And now that they've really had this identity for a couple of games in a row, what they are. They realize what they are, which I think is more important. And they're exploiting their strengths. They're kind of doing the Belichick thing where they're doing the things that they do well almost exclusively, and they're trying to stay completely away from their weaknesses and try to put their opponent into a corner by the end of the game. And I think the way they played in Indianapolis had a lot of injuries, and everybody thought this was going to be a cakewalk for us. It never is. But They went through there, and it was a close game. Specialties shut in there, and they blew this thing wide open. That blocked field goal, I mean, their special teams is on fire this year. That's not even the first blocked field goal or the first big one.
No, they had two that game, didn't they? Didn't they have 2 blocks that game? And one
I think it was like a tip and then a block.
Well, tip, that's a block. A tip is a block, okay? Let's
just
fuck the technical. Yeah, a tip can break the hymen. We all know that. But at least that's also. But the whole point, totally got me fucked up on that.
I'm sorry. That's what I'm here for.
What were we talking about? Oh yeah, no. Adam Vinatieri has already before that game, dude. He had already missed 12 kicks this year so far. Adam Vinatieri has missed 12 field goals this year. Mm-hmm. Wow. And then what, he missed like 4 Sunday?
It was a lot. It's hard to keep track now. And everybody wears out. Kickers, they last longer than most. But, I mean, dude is 8 years older than me, and look what I got right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's in an NFL game kicking. It's hard to do, and I think it gets even harder as you get into the winter months like this, although Indianapolis plays indoors. But, at some point, everybody falls off, and this is just his time. This is definitely going to be his last year. They were concerned at the beginning of the year after the first couple games where he's having missed extra points that he was going to retire before the end of the season. They talked him into staying, which I think is a class move by Indy, but definitely his last year. I mean, the guy just doesn't have – he was always an accurate kicker. Even when his legs started to go, he could still hit 40 to 45 yards, no problem. Yeah. And now that's not happening. He's got too much pride to stick around.
Yeah, I mean, rightfully so. I mean, he's got just a few more games left, so, yeah.
But great player. I mean, first ballot Hall of Fame kicker, and I don't think you could say that about anybody. But, I mean, that game was great. It really established, how the rest of our season is going to play out because I say the Titans, obviously. But, the Titans at this point, if they beat the Texans twice, are a lock for the playoffs. If they beat them once, they still have a really good shot because they play them twice, down the road. And, their schedule is not really punishing either. So at 7-5, it's very possible they could finish 11-5, 10-6, and really just take the division.
All right, so I know they got Houston twice, and they also got the Saints here too, and they got the Raiders next week. So it's Raiders not a cakewalk. Well,
it's not. It's not. It'll be tough.
Yeah, and if the Raiders we need to beat the Raiders, obviously, and we need Pittsburgh to lose. But if Raiders beat us, that puts Pittsburgh up better and puts Bills in a better position. And dude, what about the Bills?
The Bills are having a great season.
Dude,
the Bills would get a lot more attention if they weren't in the same division with New England.
However, dude, with that loss that the Patriots just suffered to Houston, they haven't clinched their division yet. There's only one team in the NFL that's actually clinched their division, and that's the Saints.
New Orleans.
Teams. Yeah, I had no idea until about an hour ago. Mm-hmm. But dude, so the Patriots. Hold on, they're next to. They got Kansas City and the Bills, and then they have the Dolphins, which is fuck. So that's definitely a win. But yeah, dude, this has to be the first time in many years that division has not been already wrapped up at this point at the time of the season.
But you're seeing a change of identity for them as well, because I was talking about the Titans and how they've established theirs. New England's lost theirs. They don't have anybody who can make plays on offense.
No.
And that's another team that's really decided that they're going to hang it all on Brady and just let him try to win the game for him in the fourth quarter or keep it close and have the defense win it. And they've had the luxury of the defense like all season long to be able to win some of these games and score more points than the offense in most cases. But Brady's fallen off as well. And I think they've done a lot to cover up his weaknesses and mask his deficiencies. But I honestly don't think that he's 100% at fault here. I mean, when you look around New England right now, who the fuck's catching the ball?
Edelman. That's it.
That's it. They don't have tight ends. They got Ben Watson on like his 45th year. And he was never a big name in the first place. No. And the guy is slow as molasses. And I mean, he's not a guy that's going to get open down the field. All the other guys are either undrafted, late round rookies, cast off from the team. Mohamed Sanu is probably the best of the rest, and Sanu is not a guy who's going to show up every game. Edelman, the Texans game when they doubled Edelman, they started just doubling him in the second half.
Yeah, and that shut him down. Yeah, it shut him down. Once they took Edelman out of the game, the game was over. Because number 14, like I'm terrible with names, obviously, and pronouncing them. So I did know the name. I'm sure I couldn't fucking say it. However, I know number 14, dude, has so many drops in that game. And dude, Monday, Brady went on that radio show that he goes on every time he plays a game. He goes on some radio show up there in Boston. And he was defending all the receivers, saying how much it was his fault. And, they're new. You can't expect them to come in and have these great games and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, dude, you're losing. Yeah, they're figuring it out. You don't have anybody to throw it to. You don't even have anybody to run the fucking ball anymore, dude. Just like 2 years ago, they had 3 different running backs that were tearing it up.
Right.
I mean, was their running game is all actually the running game besides the Titans anyways is really kind of non-existent this whole fucking season.
I agree. I agree completely. I mean, they need a reboot. They need an implosion or an injection of talent. And they've tried a couple of times this year to get it. I think Antonio Brown can't be ruled out at this point to come back to the Patriots, as crazy as that sounds, because if the NFL clears him of wrongdoing and says that they're not going to suspend him and drops whatever it is that they were investigating for in the first place. I know there's 2 or 3 things, but say they clear the deck and say, no, you're good to come back with whoever you want. I think the Patriots could bring him back for a pretty cheap deal to play the last game or 2 of the season, play the playoffs. And this is very possible. As nutty as this sounds at this point in the year, after everything that happened in August and September, it's completely in the realm of possibility, and that's exactly what they need. Without him, I mean, you're dependent on the defense to win every game. And they may not be – right now, they're not the number 1 seed in the AFC anymore. I think didn't Kansas City jump up and take that spot? Or no, it wasn't Kansas City.
It was
Baltimore. That's it was. So Baltimore's number 1 right now. They may be running away with it before Christmas. And then you're going to have – if Buffalo keeps going and beats New England before the end of the season, they might wind up winning the division, and New England's in a wild card.
And a first week bye.
I know.
So,
the Patriots would definitely be a team if they got in the wild card and had to play the extra playoff game. I don't think they can make that run.
Yeah. I know. I agree. Oh shit! I just had some.
Knocked us off track. You did mention on the notes you were talking about the Titans added that cornerback from Arizona, which I think with the injuries, Malcolm Butler and otherwise, I think was a great move.
Well, see, that's why I brought up Dory Jackson, because I mean, something's more wrong with the Dory than what they're leading on, because they wouldn't go out and get this veteran cornerback. That was, he has a decent career. He's had a decent year this year. But yeah, it sucks with the injuries and everything. But I'm wondering. Here's my question to you. I'm completely switching topics here. Do you think that we saw a Super Bowl preview Sunday
between
49ers and the Ravens?
Oh, that was a good game,
dude.
That was a really good game. I would like that Super Bowl.
Yeah, and that right there is the two very all right. I'm going to pick Baltimore right now to go to take the AFC. I can't see anybody else right now.
They're really strong, both sides of the ball. I mean, Jackson obviously is going to be MVP before it's all over with, if not Russell Wilson. I would vote Jackson given a vote right now, but the defense has stepped up and the running game is there, and they can beat you a lot of different ways. And that's really the teams that you're looking for this time of year, is the teams that can play defense and that can beat you if their best player has a bad game. I think if Jackson was to get into a divisional round or AFC championship game and throw a couple interceptions or maybe even get knocked out of the game, God forbid, they could still come back and win because they got Mark Ingram. They got a lot of other guys who could play. And John Harbaugh being an experienced coach, a Super Bowl winning coach, a guy who made his living in special teams before he got there, I think he's creative enough to be able to kind of whip something together on the fly. And that's the things I can separate from the other teams that are pretenders is somebody who has multiple options. And they're definitely one of those teams. You look across the table at New England, and they don't necessarily have that. San Francisco does. And I think Shanahan is a real strong candidate for Coach of the Year in the way that he's pulled them together this season too.
Yes.
So definitely would like to see it at Super Bowl.
That would be a great Super Bowl. And I think I was what was the night game? Seattle and who?
Seattle and Minnesota.
Yes, that's another playoff. I think that's another playoff game right there that we got to see.
Yeah, they'll meet again.
Yeah.
They'll meet again, I think, for sure. And those are two teams that are very evenly matched. And Kirk Cousins, for all his primetime struggles, I really thought he was going to wind up pulling that one out.
Yeah, I heard a lot of journalists talking about it on the network that we all watch. I remember watching it. Everybody's blaming Kirk Cousins for not being able to ever handle primetime spotlight or anything like that. And yeah.
He's got bad games. He makes bad throws. He's a known quantity at this point. He's been around since 2012. Everybody kind of knows what Kirk Cousins is and what he isn't. I mean, what he is the guy who became available at the right time and got the biggest contract as the best guy in free agency that year. So everybody wants to talk about the contract. The contract made Kirk Cousins something he's not. He's not a $33 million a year guy. He's not going to be a type of dude who's going to Super Bowl for you. He is the guy who's not going to lose the Super Bowl for you if you have a great team around him. Minnesota's just about there. And every single game, Kirk Cousins is going to have one or two really bad throws, bonehead plays, and I've seen it from him time and time again in his career. He's going to continue to have this no matter how good Minnesota gets. If you can survive those one or two, he'll still keep you in the game the rest of the way.
You're kind of describing Bortles to me.
Oh, my God.
That's what that reminds me of.
Apologies to the audience.
Oh, God.
I'm kidding, man. I'm kidding. Now, the ghost of Blake Bortles, they got your guys, your Jacksonville Jaguars, they finally made the right move and went back to the guy they should have kept the whole time,
yes.
Gardner Minshew. Yeah. So, let's not look to the past. The future's bright for them, I think.
I think so too. And that was Marone. That was his decision, or at least he made it seem like that was his decision. Now, given that Foles is still due $15 million in guaranteed, what the fuck are they going to do? Are they just like evaluating Minshew right now to finish out the season, or are they actually are they really done with Foles already?
They can't be done with Foles because of the money they gave him. So they pinned one arm behind their back. But look at those two guys. Who do you want?
Oh, I want Minshew. Minshew. But I'm following. Now my brother he feels completely the opposite. He wants Foles because he wants that leadership quality there because he doesn't believe that the Jacksonville Jaguars have that right now. In which I can't really argue with that point right now because they don't have any leadership going on there. None of their guys are that experienced. Not really. Dude. Oh, God damn it. Leonard Fournette has averaged like 30, 40 yards a game for the past 5 weeks, it seems like. Last week, he only had like 32 yards. Oh. I know I just said a bunch of the wrong things, but you know what I'm trying to say.
No, I get it.
32 yards like per game, and that's what he's been averaging for like the past 5 games, and it's just been so frustrating. And what's even worse is that he's only getting like 5 or 6 carries, so they're not even handing him the fucking ball. So according to Doug Marone, they really need to concentrate on their offensive line because they can't get any protection for the quarterback, they can't open up the holes for the running back. I'm like, yeah, no shit. That's why you're. God damn it.
It is frustrating. I don't know what they've been doing all year long.
No, dude, they had the personnel. They had the personnel at the beginning of the year. Yeah, Foles went down, but Minshew came in and he was rocking it. But then, all the bullshit happened with Ramsey, and that to me is when the season ended. When Ramsey and all that shit went down, the team was done because the team was, in my opinion, the team's behind Ramsey. They're not
He's a
buying.
very popular guy in that locker room from all
Obviously.
accounts.
Yep.
From all accounts. I mean, for one, I mean, he's a prime performer. I mean, the guy's the best at his position, and that's going to get the
Absolutely.
respect of the guys around you.
Yep.
Even your Antonio Brown types. I mean, those guys still command a lot of respect from a good portion of the guys in the locker room where you think that people would start to turn on them when they act crazy. Ramsey never really acted crazy. Ramsey was just Ramsey's a different bird, but it's not wrong because he took a stand for himself in a business sense, and the business side of the team took it personally and tried to make him out to be a bad guy. And where this really went sideways, and this wasn't really the intent for this topic, but I mean, where it really went sideways with him is that they started to leak things in the media, as teams typically do. You know, you see any negotiation back and forth, even Jerry Jones and Ezekiel Elliott and Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott. When these, players are kind of going through these public negotiations from the team, stuff starts to get out like, oh, yeah, well, he's late to meetings all the time. Oh, yeah, well, he's just not a good guy when they lose. Oh, yeah, he's not an effort player. And these little negative things start to creep out in the media, and the media runs with it because it's from a credible source, and they know that they've got something there. All this to say, Jacksonville did that. Jacksonville is Tom Coughlin, Doug Marrone, and they really made him out to be kind of a bad person in the media when he's not, and the team saw through it. And instead of kind of taking it like a lot of other players do until they get to the end of the season, I'm a free agent, I'll walk, or you can franchise me and I'll hold out, and that whole dance. He basically just told him, I'm calling your bluff. I'm not showing up. And they were able to disguise it by saying he was injured for a couple of weeks till finally they knew they either had to get value for him or lose value for him. And they took it. I couldn't believe the Rams traded for him. But you're absolutely right, because when that happened, I mean, they lost the rest of the team. People started looking around like, well, I'm going to be next. This is not the organization I want to play for. So you and I had a conversation kind of off air before about this. And I think Coughlin's out at the end of the year. I think Marrone for sure is out at the end of the year because the head coach is going to take the fall. See also Ron Rivera. But Coughlin's not going to get a job anywhere else. I mean, Coughlin's really to blame for most of this mess. So you're looking at a house cleaning. And with a house cleaning, you're going to have Nick Foles get moved off. They're going to have to eat that cap money. And they're going to start with that young quarterback that they have, because I think if he got the right head coach in front of him, and I mean, you look at Lamar Jackson and what he's got in Baltimore and the people around him that are top A-list coaches, assistants all the way through, they'd be able to get the most out of him. You have a situation like that with Gardner Minshew, and the sky's the limit for that guy.
Yeah, but I don't know of a coach out there that I would trust to come and really, please enlighten me. Who the fuck can come? What coach is out there that can actually do that right now?
Well, it's not Doug Marrone.
No shit.
I think Mike McCarthy, again, I've said him a few times. He's got a pedigree and working with a couple. He came from, I think, San Francisco originally. He went to Green Bay, was head coach there with Aaron Rodgers, and he's worked with a couple of good guys besides him. And I think his scheme he could bring in there and maybe make something out of Minshew that he's not right now. But maybe not him. Maybe somebody from college. They'll have to get more of an offensive-minded coach, because I mean, you just can't depend on a defense year in and year out. Defense and running game used to win ball games in the 80s. It's just not the way to get it done anymore.
No, I agree with you on that.
But
really is.
Minshew's a good catch, man. I think that they need to see past the money and realize they made a mistake with Foles and not let the money cloud their judgment over this other guy, or they're going to lose the younger quarterback.
No, I agree. Do you think I'm sorry. So when I sent you all these talking points, I think I went completely out of order the entire fucking time, and I apologize.
And when you didn't, I did. Don't worry.
All right, cool.
All right.
Rock and roll. So, we already talked about the Patriots falling to Houston. Meaning the Bills could still win that division, which is still amazing to me. And dude, give it up to the Bills. I'm glad somebody else in that division is actually has a chance.
Yeah, they got great fans. It's great to see them riled up and excited.
Yep. I'm sure they don't like us, giving the Music City Miracle, but fuck off. We went to Super Bowl that year.
That's great.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Did we beat them this year? We beat the Bills?
I thought they beat us.
They might have. I can't remember.
They did. They've only lost
a different
2.
season now.
They've only lost 2.
Wow.
No, 3. They've only lost 3 this year so far, I think. Yeah.
The team nobody's talking about.
Exactly. And what do you think Pittsburgh? All right, so the wild card spots that are left in the AFC. It's between basically the Bills. The Bills right now have the 5th seed, and
the Bills are lock.
Yeah. Are they?
Yeah. Well, you're either gonna have the Bills win that division, and the Patriots be the wild card, or vice versa. So you're going to have two teams out of that side. So basically, there's only one wild card spot at large. And, it's really at large. You got a lot of teams in the same scramble for that.
Really, it's basically down to 3, though. It's basically down to the Steelers, us, and Raiders.
Indy and Texans are almost the same record as us.
No, the Colts are 6-6, which is also the Raiders. But for some reason, they're lower than the Raiders as far as being able to get into the playoffs. So I can't remember exactly why. So that doesn't make
probably division record. I think it's the first tiebreaker.
Well, they got a better division record than the Titans right now.
But we have a better overall record.
Yes, obviously. So,
well, any of these teams. Oakland's very streaky, and I don't think that they're going to, even if they get in, they're going to be easy out in the first round. But they can go on a run. They could get 9-10 wins and kind of grab hold of that last vine. Pittsburgh, they got a third-string quarterback in there. I'm not 100% sold on them, even though they've had some good luck lately. Other teams that you got in it are
Jackson, he is not number.
Sorry.
It's all right. So Kansas City's going to win that division. You got probably the Titans or Texans are going to win the South Division. North is going to be Baltimore all day.
Easy.
So that really leaves about 4 teams to go for that last wild card spot. And really, it's going to depend on the entire body of work. It's not going to be just because it's not going to be because one signature win this last part of the season. It's one of these teams is going to have to get hot and win 3 out of 4 or even 4 in a row to get that last wild card spot.
I think it's got to be the Titans. They have to win those. They have to win out, basically, in my opinion, to be able to get in.
Not necessarily, because they can be weaker than the rest of those teams and win the division.
Well, they got to face Houston twice. So, yeah.
I don't think Houston's as good a team as they put on tape on the other night. I think that they played a great game plan. I've seen them play awful games this year. I've seen them not protect Deshaun Watson. Anything can happen with him.
It's Texas. You never know what the fuck you're going to get when it comes to Texas. That's the way they have been ever since they came into the league.
I know.
But
it'll be fun to see, though. I like everybody's kind of scrambled together. In NFC, you're starting to see the cream of the crop separate, and you'll have the playoffs figured out here in about a week or two. But the AFC, it's going to be anybody's best guess for that last spot.
Yeah, I agree. Well, anything else?
Man, I think we covered it. I think we put in a lot of time on that one pretty quickly, it felt like.
Oh, yeah, and just something else that I just read. Here's another reason for you to dislike Chris Collinsworth. That's where I just clicked on that noise you heard was me clicking on it because I thought it was just an article, but apparently it's a video.
Oh.
Yeah, why Russell Wilson deserves the MVP over Lamar Jackson. That right there.
Collinsworth saying that?
Yeah. So that right there makes me automatically be like, yeah, so Lamar Jackson should be getting the MVP.
Well, I think Collinsworth gets beat up a lot unnecessarily. I think
it's necessary. It's necessary.
You look at the guys on Monday Night Football and tell me he's not better than him. Those motherfuckers don't deserve to be on TV anywhere. Radio, maybe. They're awful. Okay, so last year my fantasy team was fire Jason Witten, and I kept it as fire Jason Witten all season long. And I think before they could fire him, he quit and decided to go back playing because it was embarrassing watching any football game with him calling it. And then now they got Booger McFarland off the Booger Mobile and back in the booth. He is the most negative son of a bitch I've ever listened to. And watch this. When you listen to Booger next time you watch a game, he's going to say, oh, that guy's great. Yeah, look at that play he made. He grew up with a crackhead for a dad and beat his mom all the time, and he's got 3 felonies. But that play right there, he ran a fantastic route. If he can do that every time, he'll get out of the ghetto in no time. Booger McFarland just wants to shoot everybody right in the foot. This last game, he had 2 or 3 that made it onto Twitter as like a why would you say that about this guy type moment. He feels like he's got carte blanche just to talk shit about everybody. It's like, no, dude. Did you hear what John Gruden did when he was on Monday Night Football? John Gruden was the most positive person. Oh, hey, that guy. I like that guy. I like everything that guy does. He didn't talk shit about anybody because he knew he was going to have to work with them one day. Booger McFarland is ready to kill all, and it's not
because he ain't working with anybody.
Nah, it's going to be his last gig.
That's right. That's fucking hilarious, dude. Rock and roll.
Sorry, I'm very anti-Booger.
No, I can tell. You just get it out, man. It's all good. All right. Thanks, podcast world. Y'all fuck off.
All right. See you.